Hello, everybody. This is Mike Fardy with the Nickel Independent Film Festival. We are celebrating our 25th year this year. Hooray for us. And part of that celebration is we are chatting with some filmmakers from Nickel's past, present, and hopefully future. Uh, Today, I'm here chatting with Stephen Coombs, who is the director of Kneaded, which is going to be playing on Wednesday, the 21st. So thanks for coming and chatting with us, Steve.
Well, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So I just wanted to chat with you. This film Needed. This was made through the First Time Filmmakers program, but this wasn't your first ever film. How did you get your start in filmmaking?
It's a bit of a funny journey. It's like one of those, a funny thing happened on the way to the stage. I've always had an interest in filmmaking since I was young, film and television. It's something I aspired to, and also stand-up comedy, as you know. So I had been doing stand-up comedy for many years, and then after my journey with my cancer diagnosis, when I developed a show around that, I really started to expand on my writing. And at the same time, I was toying with the idea of turning that story into a screenplay or some form of limited series. And but I stuck in my wheelhouse at the time. I stayed on stage, but I still had that interest in workshops that I had done through the Nickel, through NIFCO, through the Women's St. John's Women's International Festival. There are so many great workshops that were going on focused on screenwriting and filmmaking. I just kept attending those because they really piqued my interest. And so I decided to do the introduction film course through NIFCO, and that was back just before COVID hit, and just before I started to have to do chemo. So, COVID and chemo, I kind of had to shelve that for a while, especially when COVID was on the go. It limited my ability to go and do stand up. So I had a real yearning to keep being creative and do something creative, both for therapeutic reasons and just because that's the way I am. I'm a creative person. I have to be creating all the time. So we just needed to push my screenwriting more and looking out for things like when the Nickel had their introduction to, not introduction to, the Stewart uh, script writing challenge, the 5 minute script writing challenge you guys put off, and that was in the winter of
Yes. Yeah.
23. And actually, Needed was also a play idea I had floating around in my head. And when I signed up for the script writing challenge and got the prompt, I was like, that's a neat little way I might be able to take this idea that's been like germinating in my brain for this long to turn it into a short film and also hit on some areas that I wanted to expand upon and tell a story about. And I felt film was a great way to do that. So after I wrote that short 5 page screenplay, then I got interested in going back and doing the workshop, and I did the intro to film workshop, and through that we did my first film, World's Greatest Dad, which got to play at the Nickel thankfully last year, and a couple of other festivals in and around Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. And the great thing about that was, it really prompted me to go take a look at the needed screenplay I wrote. And I said, well, this would be a great opportunity and a great time to look into the introduction to filmmaking, the first time filmmaker program with NIFCO. And I reached out to my mentor, Brad Gover, Ed, not Grover, Gover. And sorry about that. Yeah, so we got approval through the board, and I got some extra funding through ArtsNL to help give us an extra day of shooting, and that's how Needed came to be. And it's great now that it's an idea that was born out of the script writing challenge, which progressed along through over a year and a half, 2 years actually, and went through the first time filmmaker program with NIFCO, and now it gets to come home and have its debut where it was born through the Nickel, which is to me it's a pretty amazing little full circle moment for myself.
Yeah, we always love to see films that were made or written through challenges make it
Oh, I think
into
you're
the festival eventually. So we're really happy to see this film. How so? I mean, there's stand up, pulling from a lot from your real life. Makers tend to pull a lot from their real life, but we see a lot of filmmakers who make the jump over from another art form. So you were writing, you were doing stand up. How did you find that transition from writing for stand up for to writing for film? Did you have any sort of strategies that you had to put into place, or was there any part of it that was like especially easy or difficult?
I think we're having a screen lock there, Mike, on your end.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Did you hear
No,
my you didn't hear my question
I'm
there?
sorry about that. I got part of the question. I heard some about the I guess the comparison between writing for stand-up and writing for film and drawing upon personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
So is that what you're looking for, a comparison
Yeah,
between?
yeah. Just
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah.
yeah,
So
just wondering what the differences were, or if you had any strategies or difficulties or exciting parts of it.
yeah, I guess some of the difference I find is normally when something happens in your everyday life, and with me, a lot of my stand-up was always revolved around kind of like I'm the butt of the joke at the end, but it's funny things that happen with my wife and my kids, my family, and they're the type of stories that once you have that idea in your head for a joke, I tend to write in my mind or in through conversation where I'll have multiple conversations with friends. And once I can feel or start to flesh out some pieces of that joke, you can take it to stage. And it's kind of like a live process of molding the idea into the form a bit. Whereas with screenwriting, it's kind of the same, except you're a little bit more precious about holding that idea in internally for a while and really massaging it before it goes to paper. And with Needed, it's an idea that kind of sat around in my mind for a while, and I wanted to provide some commentary on primary caregivers and personal experiences I've saw in my own life. Growing up in Newfoundland, growing up seeing, in particular, um, female role models in my life, like my mother, who looked after her siblings or her own parents when they were sick, and kind of take on that anchor, de facto anchor in the family that they kind of they like to go to. And I've always found that, even my wife, who has some health issues while she's trying to, you know, work with my health issues, it's kind of like the film ends up being a little bit of a love letter to those people, and a reminder for the importance of self-care. And it's also a little bit of a commentary on the healthcare system in Newfoundland, and just our cultural dynamic when it comes to dealing with um, being a primary caregiver, family dynamics, relationships, around certain things like land titles, those type of things. But yeah, like the ideas in my head, it gets written out more, and then you expand upon it, especially in the filmmaking process. There's some things where, with a joke, you can get that live feedback of whether or not it's landing, or have that beautiful moment where you say something and you go, "Ooh, I've never said that before," and it got a big laugh. I'm not going to use it next time. Whereas with film and with screenwriting, it's a process of really fleshing it out on paper. And I found that once I handed over the script to my actors that we had cast in the film, you get that um, perspective, that different perspective from someone else who introduces questions that, although you thought about everything, they give you a different vantage point where you're like, I didn't see that, or I need to fix this part of the script to make this other part make sense, or I'm not I'm not showing enough to my audience in a certain way, like the whole what is it they say, show don't tell when you're writing. And little key elements to the story that even with other filmmakers, like I had Mike Hickey sit in on our table read in the latter stages when we did our second shoot, or because our first shoot we had to push back, and Mike gave me a really good tip on the beginning of the way the film opens, because he said if you at least shoot it these two ways, he said you're going to save yourself in the edit. And it was a fantastic tip, because it's actually the way that we ended up going with the film. So that comes also to the importance of leaning on your key creatives, because as much as you think you want to have the film unfold, it's those key creatives on your team, production design, your mentor, your AD, your actors. They're going to bring so much to it, and you just got to kind of learn to lean back, sit back and lean on them a little bit, because they bring so much more process.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the nicest parts about that collaborative aspect is you've got a lot of people
Oh
who
yeah.
care a lot and have their own levels of expertise that they can
And
bring to
that's
your
that's
project.
something I
Um,
love about the filmmaking process. Is I had the pleasure of working on Ryan McDonald, on his short film Elapse last year, and that's playing at the festival as well. And the crew, you learn when you do the introduction to film course, but then when you get in the moment, and you have an idea that's so precious to you that you want to make, and through Ryan's crew, Ryan, because I helped out with his film, he was like, "Well, let me produce your film, because you've been so helpful to me." And Ryan just reached out, and before you knew it, we had a crew of about 30 people who are just willing to come together on any given Sunday and throw everything in there. Really, and like you said, it's a communal effort. Everyone just works together. It's this beautiful dance of people who want to make the most beautiful piece of art that they can, and really help you shine. And in the end, we all shine, because it's such a fun experience. It's a humbling experience to have people you've never met before, but now become friends. And as I've gone on from just making this film, and now, for instance, I'm working on Snook season two, playing a role for Pete Susi, and then I'm coming across the same people that were on my crew, and it's like, oh, hey, how's it going? And it becomes this, you're developing, you're fostering great relationships within the film and television and theater community, the arts community in Newfoundland. It's a wonderful experience.
yeah, there's a lot of crossover there, and it does start to feel like a little family that you end up traveling around with. That's awesome. I think we might have covered it a little bit, but I just before we clue up, I just wanted to see if there was any piece of advice that you had for an emerging filmmaker, or maybe the best piece of advice that you've received so far in the process. If there's anything that you could pass on about that.
Some advice for other emerging filmmakers. Let's see. Well, one thing I will say before passing on some advice is, like, just seeing the remarkable difference. Like I mentioned earlier, when I was young and had an interest in, you know, making film or stand up or whatever it was, I really didn't see the opportunities at the time. I'll be 52 next week, blowing out those candles. But when I was coming out in the early 90s, it's there. NIFCO was around, and there was some limited film stuff going on, which really felt like it was out of my realm at the time. And now there's so much opportunity here in Newfoundland. Like, we've got, as you know, like, Netflix is here this summer filming a major, and to my mind, it's probably their biggest production that they've done in Canada, and other local projects, not just the big projects. There's such a community here now of filmmaking. So from an advice standpoint, get in on the ground level. There's so many wonderful workshops and events, like, as you know, like, the Nickel itself puts off. Like, you guys have the DIY science project coming up, and you see so many people coming together. Last fall, you guys did the UFO one, or last summer, similar project, and there's such a collaboration
Yeah.
amongst so many varying levels. So you're actually seeing people from teenagers. There's youth programs there now. I would recommend, if anyone has any type of interest, to get on the ground levels of those programs. Just like I found when I did the introduction to film, carrying forward, you tend to bring those people along with you. I was at the Oscar Gala a little while ago, and Mark Critch was getting an award for his lifetime achievement within the Newfoundland actor community, and he had a very, beautiful moment where he said, he wouldn't be there himself only for a lot of people doing this, reaching behind and pulling people forward. And whether it's in stand-up, whether it's in film, whether it's been in theater, my experiences have always been that been fortunate enough to work with someone who is very open about sharing and teaching you the art form. And that has been their philosophy. It's like someone's done it for me, I have to do it for someone else. And in doing these workshops, these seminars, you're constantly meeting other like-minded creative people who you'll cross paths with, you'll work on a project, and the next time you're doing a film or they're doing a film, it'll come to mind of like, oh hey, like Steve was great working like when I did Elapse, I was working grip. I was moving gear around. To I'm getting the chance to direct my own film, and Ryan is there doing a similar thing that I did on his. So like you might be a director on your own project, and next week you might be doing craft services, or you might be doing grip or helping with the lighting or being a gaffer or whatever role you're playing. It all adds to your collective experience, and you'll end up working with the same people, and you build those relationships, and you get to learn who are great, reliable creatives to work with on multiple projects. So I think one of the biggest pieces of advice would be just to get out there and make connections with people and form new friendships, working relationships, and that'll really help elevate what it is you want to do.
Well, that's great. Thanks, Steve. I hope some people take that advice. It sounds like great advice to me. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff happening here,
Oh yeah.
including the Nickel Festival, which is coming up now. June 16th is when it starts. If you want to see Steve's film Kneaded, it is playing on Wednesday, June 18th at 6:30. Uh, so we hope to see you all there. Thanks so much, Steve, for coming and chatting with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, buddy. It's always fun to come and play with the nickel.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you soon.